Hello and thanks for joining us on this quick yet highly informative preview of the Alamo Bowl featuring Texas versus Oregon State. I'm Skye Dickenson. I'm joined by Alex Grotewohl. The Alamo Bowl will take place this Saturday afternoon in San Antonio, and we expect the Sparks to be flying in this one. We're both going to break down these teams and make a pick. I will say up front that I do not believe 57.5 points is anywhere near enough for the casinos to be putting up on this one. I think we're going to see a lot of scoring, and maybe that total even approached by halftime. Now, that's a bold prediction, I know, so I'm going to rest back on my heels here and let Alex Grotewohl break down the rest of this. What do you see happening, my friend?
57.5 seems ish to me, right-ish. On paper, it looks like Oregon State has the advantage both on offense and defense, although Texas definitely has the more intangibles, the more talent. You look at Oregon State, led by two of the best wide receivers around, Marcus Wheaton averaging 100 yards per game and Brandon Cooks averaging 93. Make this Oregon State team a big play offense. And Texas, while they have been recently have been better about allowing points, they are not a very good defense against the big play, I think.
Absolutely. Texas has to outscore their opponent, yeah, no question.
Yeah. So that's a weakness of Texas that I think Oregon State is specifically built to exploit.
Yeah, I mean, Coach Mike Riley, he's made a nice career out of exploiting the weaknesses of other teams. They've had some big-time victories over the year coming out of Corvallis, and a 9-3 season is always highly commendable for kind of a middle-of-the-road team in a competitive Pac-12 division. That having been said, I think Texas got a little too much firepower for them. The backfield of Jonathan Gray and Joe Bergeron, both of these guys were a little banged up throughout the year, but they are both beasts. I mean, Bergeron didn't even lead the team in rushing yardage. He led the team in touchdowns. Incredibly talented. He will definitely make his way in the NFL. Not getting much notoriety as of yet. Texas can't stop the run at all, unfortunately. So, yeah, like you said, they are just wide open on defense. You're used to Texas teams being much tougher than this one is, especially these Mac Brown teams. And this one isn't. You know, it's interesting. We're previewing a lot of games here that have teams that have been perennial contenders that are currently putting forth one of the weakest squads in quite some time and simply making a bowl game on residual prestige. I wouldn't go quite so far as to categorize Texas as all of that, but, you know, an 8-4 season is disappointing. A 9-3 season for Oregon State is incredibly commendable in the Pac-12. I've made points for both teams, I realize. I made my final pick, Texas 41, Oregon State 39.
It's going to be definitely close. I think where Oregon State's final advantage comes from is the soap opera of the Texas quarterback at the moment. David Ash, who's been their starter all year, benched in the last game versus Kansas State.
Right.
For bad play, essentially. So, he's said to be starting this game, but, I mean, when it comes down to it, he might make a bad play, and the other guy could be in there, Colt McCoy's younger brother. Yeah. And, who knows? So I don't think that they have the cohesion or the game plan to pull this one out, and I have Oregon State winning 28-24.
All right, good call. And, I mean, you make a good point. There's some who knows on both sides of the ball in this one, absolutely. Like I said, I think the safest bet, I could see it going either way. I did go with Texas. I think the safest bet is a high-scoring game, folks. So, thank you for joining us, and thank you, my friend.
Thank you.
Folks, Skye Dickenson here of Examiner.com, joined by Alex Grotewohl of the Sac State Hornet Department. We are once again previewing a highly anticipated bowl game, the Buffalo Wild Wings Bowl, this Saturday evening in Phoenix, Arizona. The Texas Christian Horned Frogs versus the Michigan State Spartans. Alex, what are your thoughts on this one?
Well, if you like good old-fashioned smash-mouth, low-scoring football, this will probably be this week's matchup for you.
Lowest over-under of the bowl season.
In total?
Yes.
Wow. Michigan State ranks fourth nationally in fewest yards allowed per game with 273 and a quarter. TCU is 18th with 332. So these are two teams that know how to play defense, know how to slow down some offenses. And that's going to be the story of this game. I think we're going to see a low total and some violent hits.
So we could throw a little pick out here before we get to the teams itself. The over-under is 41. You don't think it gets up to that?
I don't. I think we're talking in the 30s here. Even though we got one of the most exciting offensive players in the country in Le'Veon Bell in the backfield for Michigan State, I think that if there's one team this season that can slow him down, it's TCU.
Yes. Quite possible. TCU is a really tough team to get a pulse on. It's the ultimate Jekyll and Hyde team. There's always one or two of these in college football every year. This is over the course of the last month and a half. They dominate Baylor. They get destroyed by Oklahoma State. They beat West Virginia. Dominated by Kansas State. Beat Texas. Lose to Oklahoma. I mean, it's just hard to get a reading on this team. But based on that pattern, they have a good game coming up. Michigan State, I've been following this squad very closely for quite some time now, and this is the weakest team they've had in 10 or 12 years. A lot like Virginia Tech, I guess, who we previewed a little while ago. They're just used to having success. So when you end up 6-6 and get a bowl game, it's like, I'm sorry, that's not enough based on the success we're used to. The 73rd ranked offense, that is straight up embarrassing coming out of a perennial contender in East Lansing.
Yeah, but I think as weak as Michigan State has been this year, that's at least partly due to the fact that they have a first-year freshman starter, but so does TCU. TCU has Trayvon Boykin, who took over in the 5th game of the season, I believe, when their starter Casey Pakel went down with a DUI.
Went down with the DUI.
That's great. The famous DUI.
Like Braylon Edwards went down?
And like Plaxico Burress, but sort of legal troubles. But Boykin gets it done on the ground and through the air. But even though he has a lot of weapons, his lack of experience could hurt him. And you could say the same thing about Andrew Maxwell for Michigan State. So I expect to see a lot of turnovers. I wonder what the over-under is for turnovers on this game. I'll take the over.
Yeah, that's a very good point. And there absolutely will be that. That bet will be available if you're in a casino. Le'Veon Bell, I mean, we haven't heard much of that name. He was Heisman talk at the beginning of the year. It's interesting, only 3 people were invited to the Heisman this year. I haven't seen that few in quite some time. But it's all about Le'Veon Bell versus that 10th-ranked TCU D. And, I mean, I just think it's going to be far too much, especially a good D that's going in knowing that's what they're going to try to do to move the ball and score points, having a month to prepare for it on top of it. Everything says TCU here. I got TCU 24, Michigan State 16.
I got TCU 17, Michigan State 14. I think it's going to be close.
Yeah, close on either account. So there you have it, folks. Thank you very much for joining us. On behalf of my buddy Alex here, I'm Skye Dickenson. Good night.